Hi, and welcome to the 267 podcast. I'm here with Director of 267, Mike Palin.
Woo woo!
And I'm Ben, the intern of 267.
Hi, Ben.
And we're here with our new work experience employee,
Yay!
Alex Stoney.
That's me.
She's there. So, we're going to be having a bit of a chat about young people leading in the church, getting the perspective from Alex, rather than from Claire Banham last time. We thought we'd actually talk to a young person about it. But first, we need to ask the question that we ask all our guests. Alex, can you describe Mike in 3 words? And Mike, can you describe Alex in 3 words?
Are you going first?
No, because I haven't thought about it. We could play like tennis words.
Okay, can you go first then?
Genuine.
Stylish.
Are you talking about you or me?
I'm talking about you. You're talking about me.
Stylish. That made me laugh. I think joy, because when you enter a room, I think you light it up a bit.
Mm.
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Well, you texted me this morning, so pumped for my time with 267, and that made me happy.
But I also wanted to check that you were awake, so you didn't forget to pick me
Small
up.
child.
So it was just a passive-aggressive message,
Technically,
really.
yeah.
There's a lot of that in 267. I really don't like it. I'm going to call it out.
Okay.
That's my whole shtick.
In
You
the
can't
rally,
put that.
I'm gonna hit back, and I'm gonna say, linking to this, leader.
Thanks.
Stylish leader.
Stylish, never has that ever been said in the history of ever. And I'm going to say impactful.
Wow.
Is that a word?
That is.
Okay. As in to have impact. Not like a meteor or an elephant sitting down. To have impact.
But in the metaphorical sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
To have impact.
I'll say intelligent.
You've used 3 words that nobody has ever said about me ever in
Yeah,
history.
because I don't want to repeat words that other people have probably said.
That's really encouraging though. No one's ever called me stylish or intelligent. Why is Catherine laughing in the corner? I'm like,
We've got Catherine, who's about to record a podcast with us, sitting there.
I'd just like to say that Alex has already become Employee of the Month because she brought in pudding stop cakes
Yeah.
to the
Okay,
office.
I'm shutting down this podcast. We're done.
What have you ever brought into the office, Ben? Apart from charisma and wit.
Myself, for free, every week.
That big old smile.
That big old smile.
Yeah. So, shall we have a chat about
Yeah.
young leaders? Alex, what do you do?
In the church.
Yeah, how do you lead?
I'd like to say I do a little bit of worship leading.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the most visible way that I lead. But I'd also like to say that sometimes I lead in kids groups. Sometimes I get involved in my own youth group and try to lead discussions, or I don't know. I think leading comes in a lot of different forms. So it doesn't have to be like visible leading. It can also be, I don't know, just, for instance, if someone comes to you and asks for prayer and you being upfront and open to work with them, that's also being a leader and helping. So, yeah, that's what I do.
And when did you think you might have some leadership qualities?
Or did you just get thrown in?
Yeah, or did just someone push you
Well,
in?
I don't think I ever was lying in bed at night thinking, wow, I would love to lead worship. I think it came as a result of people either praying for me or seeing things in me that I didn't see in myself. Because I wouldn't, when I first became a Christian, I don't think I called myself a leader or someone that had the type of qualities to be a leader. But other people saw that in me and encouraged me and worked with me. So definitely the 267, because I led at Fuel and in house parties and stuff like that. But also my own church. So yeah, in my youth group I do a lot as well.
I think the calling out gifts in people is really important that we do as Christians, isn't it? Because I think sometimes we get self-conscious, so we don't want to say I'm really good at that because people think you're being a bit sort of cocky and arrogant. And so you want to say, actually, I think I'm good at that. But when somebody else calls you out and say, I think you'll be really good in this. You almost go, oh yeah, I've been thinking that as well. And we did something, was it last year where we did sort of a weird Venn diagram where to find out what you love doing is you write down something you love doing, write down something you're really good at, like naturally gifted, and then write down an opportunity that you have to use that gift. And then sort of where the Venn crosses in the middle, it's like that's a point where really God can really take hold of stuff.
And I think especially as a teenager, you find it hard to, might not be the same for all teenagers, but from my experience, I definitely found it hard to say to myself, right, you enjoy this and you have a gifting in this, so do it. So I kind of need that kick up the bum from people to actually do it. And
do you think there is a sense of people are nervous to sort of put themselves forward because they're worried it's going to be about me, and so therefore they might be really gifted and might want to do something, but they don't. So how do we get around that, of almost releasing people in their gifts?
I think you need to have people around you that you trust, because at this age, the first time you step up and you lead worship, you're so vulnerable and you're so self-conscious, and there's that element of not wanting to do it in fear of judgment. But if you surround yourself with people you trust and you do it in an environment where you're allowed to make mistakes and you're allowed to mess up sometimes, I think teenagers and young people are more likely to step up and participate in church life.
I think that whole permission to mess up thing is massive, isn't it? Because, well, let's all be honest, we all mess up. Yeah. We all do something in a position of leadership or up front that doesn't go according to plan, and then we feel rubbish about it. But it's almost like, how do you pick yourself up and dust yourself off? I think one of the big things that we can do as Christians, especially in serving, is to allow that second chance, and third chance, fourth chance. You know, because that's what grace is as well, isn't it? But I think sometimes the world's very unforgiving. Like if you mess up, that's like they'll never give you that opportunity again. When actually, I think if you're exploring your gifting, then you're not going to get it right first time. And actually, I think loads of people say, you know, I've learnt more from the times I've messed up than I have from the times I got it right. And that's true. I know my history's rubbish, but is it Edison until he made like 200 light bulbs before he found one that worked? You know, there is that sense that you learn by working out how not to do it. So a year or two ago, you led worship, and I've asked Alex so I can talk about this. And so if we all break down in emotional
that's
ways.
so fun.
So we'd set up a worship event, and you were leading worship with a couple of other people. One of those people, completely out of the blue, just left and went home before the act of worship, and you were sort of left a little bit on your own, and you found it quite difficult, didn't you?
Yeah, I think people take on leadership in a lot of different ways, but especially with worship leading, I take on a lot of responsibility, and I feel that with the label leader, there's a lot of eyes on you, so everyone else in the band is also looking at you. So when that one person left, it was like, right, everyone was also panicking and looked at me for, I don't know, the rock of it, the support, and I was like, okay, I don't know what to do, because I think it was a few years ago. Like, I wasn't particularly old. No. I'm still not, but like, it was just a bit daunting having to respond quickly.
And so we talked about dusting us up. So so we jumped forward 2 years. I think it was about 2 years. This year you led worship at a house party, and you put together 4 groups. You did the PowerPoints, you did the worship, you sorted out groups, rotas. It was seamless and beautiful and perfect. So what has happened in that 2 years that's enabled you to almost stumble there and get to where you were just really impressive this year?
Because talking to you at house party, it wasn't even like a thing on your radar. You were just like, I know this is in my skill set, I can do this, it's going to go well.
Is it an age thing? Is it you?
Partially.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that the older I get, the more confident I get. But it's also like the behind the scenes stuff, because I wouldn't say that I've led worship millions and millions of times, because even at church, like, I didn't lead for January or February. So sometimes you do have breaks from leading as such, but it's the behind the scenes stuff of going home and listening to sermons online, or reading your Bible, or praying with friends, or even if you don't want to do the outwardly Christian stuff at home, you can just like sit down with a parent and catch up. Like I feel that's really, really spiritual, because sitting down with my dad and just chatting through life is so, I don't know, like I just find so much peace in that. So it's building up your character as well as doing the actual thing.
Absolutely.
That's leading.
So what I want to say, it's interesting you mentioned it, because I was saying, we talked about having people around us to almost cheer on. How do you want people that are supporting you to be able to say those things that help you grow as well as encourage you? Because I think sometimes we have a lot of people that go, oh, you're great. And that's wonderful. Obviously, we need that. But we sometimes need people to say, or that wasn't so great, or how can we work for that? How, as a sort of nearly 17-year-old in a role of leadership, how would you want someone to do that process with you to be able to grow you? Rather than just saying, Alex, that was shocking. Don't ever do that again. You know, how do we do that for one another?
I think, first of all, that needs to be that element of friendship. Especially leading a congregation, you don't, I don't know, sometimes I don't have that relationship with people for them to come and straight after worship be like, this is what you need to improve on, blah, blah, blah. Because I think in the worship team there's this kind of unspoken rule that you don't give feedback for 24 hours.
Oh, okay.
Because it's quite draining. Quite often after I lead worship I get quite ill. And
you're quite vulnerable again. We talked about being vulnerable. You've opened yourself up quite a bit.
So you need to have that time where you're just like not thinking about it. So straight after the house party, I slept for ages just to like go back to reset. But then afterwards, it's thinking through it by yourself. But then, I don't know, when you see the people that were there when you were leading, it's just being open-minded, because a lot of people when they lead, they don't want to hear the bad stuff. But I don't know, even if you're not a Christian, imagine like celebrities that do this kind of stuff. They have to differentiate between the good comments and the bad comments, but still take the bad comments on board, because if they didn't listen to them, they probably wouldn't grow. They probably wouldn't, I don't know, mature. So.
And it's that being honest for people, isn't it? That, but how do you be honest in a loving way? So I've got a question for you. So how does the church encourage, when I'm talking the church, all church, encourage young people? I dislike the phrase young people, don't. Your sort of peer group, how do they encourage them to be more involved in church? And what do they have to do as adults to be able to make that happen?
And I guess if I add on and just make this a really long question, what's sort of the area that you see actually maybe young people aren't leading that you'd like to see them leading, or sort of what spots in the church you like actually it doesn't feel like young people are well represented here? Because we chatted a bit last week about, of course, a lot of young people aren't engaging well with sort of evening services and things because there's no young people represented in the services. Whereas like at St Paul's that we both attend, there's young people in the worship, there's sometimes young people preaching, that type of thing.
Wow, that is a long question.
Yeah,
did we put any punctuation in there or not? Did we just go for it? We didn't have any punctuation.
You went for it.
We're going with where would you like to see young people represented, and then how can we encourage that representation?
Yeah, because I want to sort of talk to church leaders and say, well, you need to change a little bit yourself to allow. Yeah. So what do we need to do as well?
So it's a cheeky two-parter.
Representation. I love this. I think young people need to be represented. It also kind of links to Mike's question as well. I think there needs to... we need to break down the barrier of big church and youth groups. Because I haven't been to many other church services, but I noticed this divide between what's considered the church service and the youth group. and I think we need to stop associating adults with church services, because then when we do turn up, it's like, oh, the young people are joining us, and it should be like, oh yeah, they're here for their church service.
So it's like young people are practicing, we're doing proper church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like they have their section, we have our section, and I feel like not only does that mean less young people are involved, but it also means that not so much resentment, but there's this kind of unspoken awkwardness between the two age groups. So like hardly any young people actually speak to the adults, when really in the group discussions in church we shouldn't really be looking at age as something that differentiates us. And I think that's a massive thing that not just church leaders need to focus on, but us as people of the congregation.
So you've got a room full of church leaders who will do whatever you ask.
Oh.
What are you going to ask them in love to do?
If I could remodel a part of the church, but not like architecture wise, it would totally be make it seem all inclusive. I want to get rid of this whole let's sit on chairs and let's do liturgy. Liturgy's great, like I'm not beefing that at all, but I think we just need like beanbags, we need fairy lights, we need to make it youth friendly just as it is adult friendly, because I feel like there's a lot of catering for the adults, but in the evening services that I've been to, there's a lot of there's a lot of outcry from the youth to see something a bit more relaxed.
So you think a welcome is the welcome as much as anything, is how you're welcomed and
Yeah.
how you feel comfortable in an environment. Yeah.
And maybe almost just sort of the formality of the church service and making it less of a official, regimented sort of service.
Because you can make it informal without losing the impact, can't you? I
Yeah.
think quite easily. Yeah.
Well, I think that is great, and it's also a good spot to finish on.
Lovely.
So, thanks for joining us, Alex.
Are we singing goodbye theme tune?
Go ahead.
No, I'm not doing it again. Alex is worship leader. I'm not going to do
Alex,
that.
go
No,
ahead.
if you sing it, I can do like
Harmonise.
a beatbox in the background.
I can't remember it, so it's going to be different
Okay,
to last week.
yeah.
We'll do it.
Why don't I start with the beatbox and then you come
Okay.
in?
So, welcome to the same jingle we have every week. Go ahead.
It's the 267 podcast in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the night.